Weekly jobless claims are down, according to the latest data from the Labor Department today. This means fewer Americans are filing for unemployment. The labor market remains pretty stable. Initial jobless claims dropped by 9,000 down to 215,000 last week. This is better than expectations. The data also does not show mass federal government layoffs having any effect on the job market so far. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell has issued a stark warning about a potential economic downturn, citing the risks of uncertainty surrounding those ongoing tariffs. Let's break this all down for you, what it means for you, with Ed Siddell, CEO and Chief Investment Advisor at EGSI Financial. Ed, good to have you back. So we've got a steady labor market, it looks like, but the stock market's kind of all over the place. What does it mean for everyday Americans?
Well, thanks for having me back, Alicia. And what people have to realize, there's a difference between the stock market and the economy. When we look at the economic numbers, the economy is actually going in the right direction, albeit very slow. We just talked about the jobs numbers coming in. But when it comes to the market, it's all about uncertainty. The market hates uncertainty, and so we're seeing a lot of whimsical movement up and down, 2 to 3% swings on a daily basis. Whether it's good news or bad news. And so really what that's telling us is that the market just wants some kind of news, a foundation that they can move forward with. And we're really not going to see that until, a couple things happen. Number one, we need to get the tariffs, at least one to fall. And what Trump was announcing today is that it looks like they're going to have a deal with the EU soon. And as soon as that happens, I think all the other countries will start to negotiate and really start with fair trade, because no one wants to be left standing when the music stops.
Yeah.
Then the second thing that we need to do is really pass the reconciliation bill. As soon as we get that spending bill, making sure that we're not deficit spending, and then we get an extension of the current tax code, then the market as well as the economy, they're really going to start to turn around. And so I'm very, very optimistic at this point in time.
That's great news. Well, we know these new tariffs are being used as a negotiating tactic. The big fish in the pond, the EU, it looks like they're at the table today to push for this fair trade and long-term American prosperity that Trump wants. But how much longer can we actually keep this up without risking a deep recession?
Well, I believe it's going to be the 90 days. So if it goes close to 90 days or exceeds it, then we may have some issues. The other really, then it comes down also to the reconciliation tax bill. Both of those have to occur. If those things don't occur, then what's going to happen is we could see a downturn, not just from a market standpoint, but also from an economic standpoint. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, good points. We need to get those tax cuts. We need to make them permanent. Well, this didn't get much attention, but inflation has actually cooled. Today, we saw the labor market holding strong. The USDA reports a slowdown in grocery price inflation compared to the previous years. Egg prices are down. The EIA also says energy costs, oil and gas prices are down. Trump pointed out that the European Central Bank, even the ECB, is set to cut rates for the 7th time. But our Fed Chair Jerome Powell hasn't made any cuts since just before the election in 24, when inflation was actually higher then. And that's a move Trump calls political to help Democrats. And he's called for Powell's termination. And Trump also said the USA is getting rich on tariffs right now. So, Powell, however, on the other hand, warns that tariffs could push inflation back up and stall economic growth. What's your take on all this? Do you agree with Powell, or is Trump right?
Well, I think it lies somewhere in between. If you look at the Federal Reserve and you look at Powell's tenure, he's lost a lot of credibility. Let's just go back to inflation when he said it was transitory. I think they're so fearful of making another mistake that by this lack of indecision and not lowering rates, even though the economic data is showing that there is a slowdown in inflation right now, that's a mistake in and of itself. I think they will eventually start lowering rates. But I think they're so fearful of making a mistake that in and of itself is a mistake. Now, when we're talking about the lower prices all the way across the board, we are a petroleum-based economy. And so as energy prices get lower, from our pharmaceuticals to our groceries, all the way across the board, everything is affected by petroleum and energy costs. So as the energy costs continue to lower, it's going to lower the cost of, we're already starting to see it in food prices. We're going to see it all the way across the board. I don't know if it's going to have a net positive effect on tariffs for those that we continue, but it's going to help to offset any increase in tariffs. So the statement that Powell made is with tariffs being inflationary, I disagree with based on merit. But I'm not sure it's completely political. I just think he's afraid of making another mistake.
Mm-hmm. All right. Even though he lowered rates right before the election. Didn't work.
Yes.
Didn't work for Democrats.
It
All
didn't
right.
work. It did not work.
Ed Siddell, CEO and Chief Investment Advisor at EGSI Financial. Appreciate your time today, as always.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN